Hi everyone, so let's move on to step 2 of Sun Salutations, which is a semi-back bend. It's also called Urdhvahastasana or Anuvitasan. Let me show you what it is. It's the way as you inhale, you take the hands back. You have the option to interlock the fingers, point the index fingers out in Kali Mudra and then reach back. Or you have the option to retain the Namaskar Mudra and then reach back. Or you have the option to keep the hands apart, parallel to each other, and then reach back. So either of these options is fine. A couple of things you need to note is that you are trying to mobilize the shoulder before you mobilize the lower back, which means that first find the maximum lift through the shoulders without arching the back. So this can be restricted for some of us, which is absolutely fine. So maybe that means that your Anuvitasan or backbend or second posture of Sun Salutations will look something like this, where the hands are ahead. Over time, we will try to take the hands back and behind the shoulders. So if you notice, I have not yet involved my spine in this posture as yet. And then once we have found that mobility in the upper back, you can start including the lower back as well. I personally prefer not to allow the hips to go forward too much, and that is why I like to build my back bend mostly from the upper back. If you would like to improve your back bending practice or this Anuvitasan or a variation of Urdhvahastasana, there are a couple of things you can do. One is this, wherein I take my right hand behind onto the wall, press it on the wall, and then turn forward to really stretch out my shoulders, basically the pecs, and then you do the same thing on the other side. Another way to do this would be to make a 90-degree angle at the elbow, slightly higher than the shoulder joint, and then turn out to stretch. So you can hold these stretches for anywhere between 30 seconds to a minute. At least 30 seconds, less than that is not advisable. More than that is also not necessary. So 30 seconds to 1 minute, you hold these stretches, but even more than this is another posture that's important. And for that, I think I'm going to use a couple of blocks. You can do this with a chair as well, and let me show it to you. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to rest my elbows onto the block and then allow my elbows to come in line with the shoulders, walking my knees back as needed. So if you notice, this is a similar action that happens when you take your hands back in the second step of Sun Salutations. One thing I want you to note, don't allow the chest to collapse just yet. That's also a stretch, but right now we are trying to find that mobility in the shoulder without stealing it from the upper back. So that's your second step of Sun Salutations. Just to recap, you take your hands up. If mobility is limited, maybe the hands will be here. If you have the mobility, try to first find it in the upper back and shoulders, and then you can include the lower back. This is important because our lower back is naturally very mobile, our upper back is not. So if we're repeating this movement, it's a good idea to recruit the muscles that tend to be restricted and open them out. All right, that's it for today's session.